Salmon, no salmon, 3 ways today on Let's Cook. Hi, welcome to Let's Cook. We are talking about salmon. We're doing it 3 ways. Now, the first way we're going to do it is actually we're going to take salmon and put it into monkfish, make a roulade and poach that, but we need a sauce for it. So that's the first thing I'm going to make. Very simple sauce. It's a tomato, what I call a tomato syrup. What I'm going to do is, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my tomatoes that I just diced up here, peeled, diced them, removed most of the seeds. I'm going to drain that liquid away. Then with what I have left, after I do that, I'm just going to take this, put this in my blender here, and I'm going to puree this. So we're going to just let this really puree up. You probably can't hear a word of what I'm saying, but all I did was puree the tomatoes there. We're just now going to take this and drain any more liquid that we can out of there. Now we're going to save this. The whole trick to making this syrup is we need a very fresh tomato flavor. So the pulp I don't cook at all, but I do cook what we call the tomato water out of the tomato. So that's strained enough. We're going to take this now, put this into a pan here, and we're going to allow this to cook down till it's dry. Once this is dry, then we add butter and we add the tomato pulp back to it, but it doesn't have a tomato flavor. It has more of a tomato syrup flavor. It's absolutely delicious. So we'll let that cook down. And by the end of this segment, that should be ready to add the butter and the tomatoes to. Next, I have a beautiful piece of monkfish right here. Now, monkfish is also known as a poor man's lobster. So we're going to take the monkfish here, just clean it up a little bit, making sure that we get rid of any of the silver skin or the membrane that's on the outside of this. Really need to remove that membrane. That's going to curl up. It's going to be tough. And it's almost like the skin on a liver. You really need to get rid of that. Okay, we're in good shape now. Now, next thing I'm going to do is now I'm going to open this up. To open this up, I'm just going to take with my knife here, and I'm just going to make a cut right along the monkfish this way. Open this up a little bit here. I'm going to come back over this again and open it again, following my same cut line, pulling back on the fish as I pull it down. Here we go. Then just a little bit more. We're just going to take our time doing this. Now, even if we get a little hole in there, that's okay, because we're still going to make this into a roulade. Now, you'll notice here, I have no more to cut here, but I can still, it's a little change in size right here. Just going to open this up. So now this is nicely open for me. Beautiful. And this roulade is not going to be too big. So I have my roulade. That's ready for the salmon. Now I have some salmon here. With this salmon, I'm just going to take this and cut this into what we would call a bâtonnet. So we're just going to take our salmon and cut them in uniform strips about the size of a French fry. Great. Now my salmon's ready. Good. The whole trick to making a roulade is, one, you're going to poach it at barely a simmer. So I have my water here. It's starting to boil here a little bit. I'm just going to turn that down so it's barely at a simmer because I have to cook it covered. How's my tomato water doing? Not quite there. I'm just going to turn that down a little bit. You don't want to scorch it either. We're going to cook it down just till it's dry. Take a little plastic wrap here, but before we use the plastic wrap, we're actually going to use aluminum foil and plastic wrap with this. So I'm just going to take this aluminum foil. I'll put that down. Take a piece of plastic wrap. I'm going to put that, whoops. These never work well for me. Nice and flat here. Then we'll just take this right here. I'll cut this off. Now, we're going to make our roulade. To make the roulade, the first thing I'm going to do is I have some plain gelatin here. I'm just going to sprinkle a little bit of plain gelatin. This is going to help hold it together. When I talk about plain gelatin, I'm going to cover up the name here, but it's just plain unflavored gelatin. It's going to help this stick together. So then we'll take our piece of monkfish right here. Actually, this end, I'm going to take this off right here because it's going to be too long for my pan here. And I'm just going to take this, butterfly this, and put this right over here so I have a nice square piece like that. You see how nice and square that is? Now, the next thing I have is I just have a little bit of spinach here. Whoops, forgot one thing. A little bit more gelatin even here. And we also need to season this with a little bit of white pepper and a little bit of salt. And black pepper too. Just a little bit all the way around. We'll take our spinach. We're going to put the spinach right here about twice the, and this is just frozen spinach that all we did was press it out. But not going to the edges, about twice the thickness of our salmon. Okay. This goes right here. Nice flat layer. Beautiful. Let's come over here. Oh, we have to stop on our salmon for a second because look, we are dry. Perfect. See on the bottom here where we just have, it's just that dry, it's reduced to sec. Perfect. To this now, while it's still warm, I'm going to add my butter. I'm going to add my tomato pulp here and just a splash of water so that it's a consistency of syrup. We're just going to let that melt. This doesn't even need any salt, doesn't need any pepper. That's because of the salt, natural salt in the tomato is absolutely delicious, and you can even see it's getting a shine. It'll just need just a little splash of water. Just a little. Perfect. And here's our tomato syrup. This is great with vegetables, but it's also excellent with seafood too. Coming back over here, we'll take our salmon. We put our salmon right in the middle here. Slide this down. Now we're going to go ahead and tie this. To tie this now, I'm going to bring this forward, leaving it on the aluminum foil. Once your knives there, you just pick this up, fold this over this way, bring it all the way around. Then with a knife right here, we're going to take this, hold the plastic wrap on the bottom here, and squeeze this real tight so you get a nice round roll. Bring this all the way around here. Now, once it's like this, I'm just going to take my ends here, nice roulade there. Another piece of plastic wrap right here because I actually used a plastic wrap to tie this. So here's a little piece of plastic wrap here. I feel like I'm doing a balloon trick, but I'm not. I'm going to come over here. Just with this piece right here, all I do is I bring this through here, making a little bit of a knot. Then join it with the other piece right here. Make another knot, pull that tight. Now this is nice and tight, so I come over here, and with this end, I keep turning this until it removes all the air and makes this very tight here. Take my other little piece right here, right underneath here. Show you another way. You can just actually, if you want, I made that a little complicated. Just make a knot here, then tie it with this here. Now, to make this will shrink while it cooks. So now what we're going to do is we just take the aluminum foil. That's why we have that here. We bring this over here. Even with our hand, we're going to make this nice and round, nice and tight. Bring this all the way around this way. Now I have a nice, beautiful roulade here. I just tighten this up. The aluminum foil doesn't give it all. But again, the salmon is not in touch with the aluminum, which is the way we want it. These also come up like this because these work as handles to get it out of our poaching liquid. We take this now. We're just going to drop this in our poaching liquid. I'm using wine and water. Need a little bit more water in there. Now this, I'm going to cook it till it has an internal temperature of 160 degrees. Let's cover this up. We'll wait for it to come to simmer. It's going to come up to 160 by the end of the show. Then I can show you how we present that with our delicious tomato syrup here. We're going to take a little break, and then when we come back, we are talking about a pan-broiled salmon with garden vegetables. It's all in one pan, so don't go anywhere. It's salmon 3 ways today on Let's Cook. Hi, welcome back to Let's Cook, where we are going to take this beautiful salmon right here, and we're going to pan-broil it. That means we put it in a pan, we put it under the broiler. But to go with that, we're going to use some vegetables. I have a nice zucchini here. I have a great red onion, a nice red pepper, and I even have a yellow squash right here. So we'll use these 3 ingredients. For the zucchini, I'll show you how I would cut the zucchini. And we're going to cut this large because we're broiling this, and it has to cook in the same amount of time as a fish. Just take this, cut it down the middle like this, cut it in half this way. I only need half of one of these for 2. Then with my knife, I'm just going to come in here and remove those seeds. Need to get rid of those seeds. And then this, we're just going to cut in very large pieces, just like this, so that when you serve this, people can have it. This goes in a bowl right here. The yellow squash, I'm going to do the same thing too. Cutting this down here, and I just like to remove the seeds. Now, reason being is these are actually immature seeds, and they contain a lot of water, so I'll usually remove these seeds. So I have my yellow squash. That'll be enough yellow squash too. Take our yellow squash, get rid of our ends here. We don't need the ends here. Just cut this down, about the same size as a zucchini. Getting rid of our ends. Beautiful. This is so nice. You know, I was at the home show, or I was doing a demo, and somebody said, "So Paul, are you going to say beautiful?" And I said, "What do you mean, am I going to say beautiful?" He says, "You say beautiful all the time on your show." And I just realized food is beautiful, and I probably do say it a lot. So my onion here, nice big pieces just like this, half an onion. That'll give 1/4 of an onion per person there. I have some green beans here that I blanched too. Now to these vegetables here, a little bit of balsamic vinegar, a little bit of parsley, some salt, some white pepper, and olive oil. Just drizzle that. We're just going to take this down, toss this around. This goes right in the pan right here. With what I have left in the pan here, I'm just going to add a little bit more oil to this, a little bit more vinegar. Then we'll take our salmon and also rub this with the vinegar and the olive oil. It's going to give it a great flavor. We'll set this up right in the pan here too. Now, the fish will stick together, so you want it to look nice like this. You want it to cook nice and evenly. Then to this now, in the bottom of the pan, so it doesn't stick, I'm going to put a little splash of wine or water. Doesn't this look great? I'm going to pop this in the oven now. It's going to take about 12 minutes under the broiler. I'll just make sure, not too close to the broiler either. Make sure you have a broiler-proof pan to put it in a broiler. But that's going to take about 12 minutes. So by the end of the show, you're not only going to see the roulade we have going here, but you're also going to see our pan-broiled salmon. We're going to take a little break, and then when we come back, we're talking wasabi-crusted salmon with a dried fruit salsa. Don't go anywhere. It's Salmon. 3 ways today on Let's Cook. We'll be right back. Hi, welcome to Let's Cook, where now we're doing a wasabi. Wasabi, it's a horseradish. It's a Japanese horseradish, and we have some wasabi-crusted peas that we're going to use to make a dredging mixture to sear our salmon. But first, we're going to get our salsa going. Now, what I have here is I have a little warm water here. I have a bunch of dried fruit right here that I'm just going to put in this bowl right here. Now, the dried fruit needs to be reconstituted. So what I'm going to do is I'm simply going to take a little bit of warm water right from here, add that warm water to this, just to soften this a little bit. Then we'll pour off most of that water, leaving a little bit in for flavor, but we need to let these soften in that warm water just a little bit. Now it's time to get our salmon going. To get our salmon going, right here, I have what we're going to coat it with. I have my wasabi peas right here. Then I have wonder flower and I have coriander here. These all get mixed together, but this is let me show you what the wasabi peas look like. This is what they look like. And they're dried. They're absolutely delicious. They're totally crunchy. And you can make the powder either by using a Cuisinart here, or if you have a coffee grinder like this, the coffee grinder works just a little better. It has the motor's a little faster, and it'll grind them up nicely. Because you want a nice fine powder with this. Good. And once you don't hear any noise anymore, these are done. Great. So just take this. I'll add this to this here too. Good. Just mix this all together. Now, I mix a wonder flour or all-purpose flour in here together first, just to get a little browning. And sometimes the peas might be a little wet and it won't work. So I've already started to heat my pan here. Just going to add a little bit more oil to this. Need to get a nice crust on this. Now my fish is right here. And just let me show you something with my fish here that I would do. I'm going to get a clean side towel here, even a paper towel. Before you sear fish or cook fish, you need to take the fish and pat it very dry. You want your fish to be very dry because the moisture will actually prevent it from browning. So we'll just take this here, dry it off very well. Then I'll season this right before I go to cook it or even dredge it into wasabi with a little bit of salt here and even a little bit of pepper. You still need that pepper there. Great. Take it here. Dredge it well. Press it in there. You don't have to put in an egg or anything else. We just need to crust this a little bit with the wasabi powder. And you can reuse this powder, by the way. Fish is nice and dry. I'll take my fish now. I'm just going to drop this in the pan and let this start to cook. Okay, let me just put this pan up just a little bit more. Get it. Yeah, because this won't really take too long to cook. We may have to, you can always finish this in the oven too. So I'll just take this, drop that fish in here. I'm going to put one more in here. The important thing is when you're searing something or cooking like this is not to overcrowd the pan. Okay, good. So have our salmon in there. Now we're going to come back over here now. This is long enough to really soften up our vegetables. I mean our fruit here. So I'll just take and I'll pour off most of that liquid. You'll notice here in the bottom now I have very little liquid here. Very little. I'm going to add some grapeseed oil to this now. Some balsamic vinegar. Regular vinegar because the balsamic has a tendency of being a little sweet. I have some nice chopped chives there that I've just decided to add to the recipe. A little bit of chili sauce, your favorite. If you don't have chili sauce, make sure it's not sweetened. But if you don't have chili sauce, then you can use cayenne pepper. And we're just going to toss this together now and let this marry a little bit. Let's come over to our salmon now. Salmon is ready to turn. Look, I'm going to come over here. See how the edges have coagulated here? This is just ready to turn now. See that great color? You have that nice green going on there. Okay. These need to cook for a few more minutes. My salsa needs to marinate a little bit. I have my roulade here. And by the way, when you go to test the roulade, you're going to use a thermometer like this, and you're just going to insert it into, this came up to boil, insert this into the middle to make sure it comes up to 160. This also needs to cook a little bit longer. That I know, basically about 10 minutes per inch of thickness. Let's take a little break. And then when we come back, we're going to look at all three of our salmon dishes. It's definitely salmon three ways today on Let's Cook. We'll be right back. Hi, welcome back to Let's Cook. And look how great our broiled salmon looks. Perfectly cooked, nice and flaky, not overdone. Beautiful. Now, I have the wasabi flavored or wasabi seared salmon right here with the dried fruit salsa. Has a little bit of heat in it. This is terrific. Now, let's go to our piece de resistance here, our monkfish salmon roulade. It's in the liquid here, and I allowed it to rest in the liquid here. We're just going to take this off right now. Now, there's a trick to cutting this, too. So what we're going to do is, while it's very hot here, with my knife, I'm actually going to remove the aluminum foil at this end, turning it around, and I'm also going to remove the aluminum foil at this end. You need a serrated knife to do this because it's too hard to unwrap. We'll come to where our edge is right here, then we just unwrap it this way. There will be water that comes out of this, so we're going to leave the plastic wrap right on this. Just dry up this water here, and when I slice this, I actually leave the plastic wrap on this, where I'll take my serrated knife here. Whoops. Okay, a little tough there. I'm going to have to open it up. This is where you need to be somewhat gentle with this, but we're just going to open this up here. Okay, very sharp knife. You're going to cut this down. Look how gorgeous this looks. Can you get a shot on that, Norm? Doesn't that look terrific? Okay, great. So I'm going to sauce my plate now right here. Just a little bit of our tomato syrup right here. One right here. These are going to look like salmon bullseyes. I just need to clean that up a little bit here. Take this off here. Here we go. Beautiful. Take this off the bottom right here. Here's my first cut right here. Take your second one here. By the way, you can also serve this nice and cold too. So this is a great dish for a cold appetizer as well. So we'll put this right here in the middle. Doesn't that look great? Out of this world. Wonderful, warm monkfish roulade with a salmon spinach filling. We could call it Florentine as well. So today on Let's Cook, we did salmon 3 ways. We did it pan-broiled, pan-seared, and poached. Thanks so much for watching Let's Cook today. You have a great day, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye for now.